Hey everybody, welcome to the Realistic Prepper. This is show number 12. I'm Jack McLean, my co-host David Banther,
What's up?
and today we're going to be talking about very specifically home defense. Last time we talked about hardening the home, and it was a broad overview. And as most of our videos are, this is going to be a broad overview of the subject matter. And you can drill down, and I'm sure we will at some point drill down specifically into each one of the subjects we address today, and have its own podcast, or have its own segment rather.
Hmm.
There's just so much that goes into home defense and firearms and training that it's really hard to condense it down into a 50-minute podcast. Wouldn't you agree with that, David?
I agree, and again, like Jack said, this is a whole subject matter that people have businesses based off of. You go to what's it called up there in Camden, Jack, Tactical
Tactical
Response.
response. Yeah.
And people that if you that's where you go for your training. We're just going to talk about what we do in our homes, and as you'll see in this podcast and often in all of our podcasts, what's unique is Jack and I live. I live in a townhome in Florida. Jack lives in a like regular home over in Tennessee. So his experience is going to be different than my experience. You're going to get to see the differences and take from each what you can.
Right, exactly, and as with anything, I mean, your location, how your living situation is going to be different. So take a little bit from mine, take a little bit from David's,
Exactly.
and that's what we're here to do. We're not here to tell you, listen, this is the way to do it, and this is the
No.
only way to do it, because there's just too many variables to make a blanket statement like that. So let's go ahead and get started. Home defense firearms. I
Hmm.
know that's what everybody wants to know. That's what that's the popular thing. All the tactical goodies. Um, Honestly, it's probably, and the reason why I wanted to go ahead and address the issue of firearms first is because it's probably the least important of any of the other facets of home
Hmm.
security. In my mind, the firearms aspect. And I know that sounds funny coming from me because I'm the gun guy. But when it's all said and done at the end of the day, most firearms that are in decent working condition and capable of the task, regardless of brand or type, are probably going to suit you pretty well in this scenario. The one exception I would have to say would be I'm not a fan of high powered rifles or carbines for home defense, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One being is a lot of times your typical AR-15 M4 style rifle is a 223 or 5.56 millimeter, and then you have your 308s, of course. But you're looking at a more or less a hunting round when you're talking about that. And your 223s, there are specific types of ammo that you can get. I understand fragile ammunition, certain hollow points that will not over penetrate. But by and large, you're going to be looking at an over penetration hazard. And if you live out in the middle of nowhere, like David and I said, it's going to be location dependent. If you live out in the middle of nowhere by yourself, and there are no neighbors within 3 or 4 miles around you, and overpenetration is not an issue, and you are limited to a hunting style rifle or an AR-15, that's what you got. It's better than nothing you did have. Also, I tend to avoid those types of firearms simply because of the negative connotation in people's heads about assault type rifles, even though it's not. And we all know the difference between an assault rifle and an assault weapon, which is a made up term. I think we're all on the same page with that. But if the cops show up and you have shot someone in defense of your home or your family, and they look over and you have this mega blaster with 100 round drum on it and a laser, and you got all this, and it looks like something out of Star Wars. It doesn't look good on the homeowners. All I'm saying. Now that shouldn't play a factor, and I won't get into the political climate that we're in today. It shouldn't be a factor, but a lot of times, depending on your location, it absolutely can be a factor. So I tend to err on the side of not picking those types of firearms, and I tend to stay more with handguns and shotguns for home defense. What are your thoughts on that, Dave?
I agree with you, Jack. Also, because I feel like, and I was guilty of this at one time. If these rifles are these tacked out rifles are great and cool. The amount of people though that have training with those, and that training is very specific.
Right.
I have training on handguns, not on rifles.
Hmm.
So I don't think that unless you're extremely trained in that rifle, and I would say if you are, you're probably military or para,
Right.
military or a cop. That's different. But for the average civilian, you need to use the gun that you train with. And that's most likely going to be a handgun, like I use, and then I have the shotgun for my shit hits the fan last resort self defense.
Right.
I agree, it's just not practical, and also, and again, laws vary by state, guys. You really got to look up the laws in your state. In Florida, we have castle doctrine, which means in my home and in my car, I have no obligation to flee.
Hmm.
In some states, even states where you're allowed to keep guns in your home or carry your guns, you have the obligation to flee.
Right.
Meaning you can't just start firing off at somebody. So, very much check into the laws in your state. What I recommend you do is call your police department and ask them. So I agree with you, Jack. My system that we'll talk about here is a handgun and shotgun, and I leave the rifles to those that are more trained with that, which I think is a very small
Right, and I
amount of
am
people.
well trained in the use of a carbine or a rifle.
And I am not whatsoever.
Right,
Just
due to my
yeah.
background, and even at that, I don't suggest it. Even at that, I don't keep a carbine or a rifle as a home defense gun, even though I am well trained with it.
Hmm.
I just don't see it for my situation. I live in a little middle class neighborhood.
Hmm.
My nearest neighbors are about 30 feet from me on one side and about 70 feet from me on the other. If
Hmm.
I have any over penetration issues at all, I'm going to have a mess on my hands. At the very least, I'm going to have a mess. At worst, I'm going to have a lawsuit, or it may,
Exactly.
you don't want to take a chance on that. So
No.
that being said, even with my training, I don't have one of those as a home defense gun. But I'll tell you what I do have, and this kind of leads us into what we keep by our bedside or what we keep on our nightstands. So our nightstand goodies here, and I typically. Now, I will say this will change depending on the time of year, depending on what I've been wearing during the course of a day or whatever. So this will change a little bit, but not drastically. But the first thing I keep on my nightstand, and this is one of the things that I may never use, but just in case, you never know, it's a can of pepper spray. Just it's got a little
Always good
bell.
to have the less lethal option, as
I
we
got
say.
the less lethal option here, and there has been times before I moved here. My wife was telling me about this dog that came into the house after her dog at the time.
Hmm.
She let her little dog in, and this bigger dog ran in after that dog. Well, you don't really want to shoot somebody's dog in your house if you can avoid it.
No, no,
This
no.
right here, pepper spray would have been a very good option. So you never know. It's a contingency plan and a plan B. So
Hmm.
it is a less lethal option, and we have an entire show about less lethal options. You might want to look that up as well. The next thing that's going to be on my nightstand is whatever gun that I carried that day. So if it's in the wintertime, it may be a Glock 17 with an extra magazine. This time of year, it's going to be the Car K9 and an extra magazine. Now, I leave this inside the holster when it's on my nightstand, and there's a reason for this. Uh, well, one, it's more convenient, but two, the last thing that I want to do in the middle of the night when I hear a bump in the night is have a firearm that is so easily accessible that I can have a negligent or accidental discharge. Um, Having to actually physically pull that gun out of the holster to make it ready gives me an extra second or two to wake up, if that makes sense. So
Hmm.
it's where I have to actually, I can't reach over and just grab it. I have to actually almost get out of the bed to grab it, and then I have to actually remove it from the holster. Now it only takes like an extra couple of seconds, but I need that time for my faculties to get right, and I think I like that little bit of extra time that it takes me. To get my faculties together and start formulating thoughts, because a gun, I see a lot of people, they have this hair trigger gun, they sleep with it under their pillow and all this, and you've all heard the stories, but that's just really dangerous. It really is, because I have been woken up in the middle of the night by my wife or my daughter, and for instance, the other night my daughter had to come into our room because she forgot to put her phone on charge. We have the chargers in our room, and she just pushed the door open. She didn't knock. She just pushed the door open. Well, and I jumped up, and it startled me. But
Hmm.
if it had been a more extreme example, what if I just reached over and I'd grabbed that gun, and before I had a chance to fully wake up and realize what was going on, I had access to that trigger. So therefore, when I do take my gun off at night, I do leave it in the holster. It only takes an extra second to get it out of the holster, but it's that extra second where I have to actually think about putting my finger on the trigger, and I like that. So, two other things that I'll keep, and I think these are vitally important. Dual flashlights. I keep two flashlights on my nightstand. One for me, one for my wife. Okay? There's two of us in there. She's going to need a light. If I need a light, she's going to need a light. So two flashlights, and also we do the two, one is none, two is one, philosophy here, because we are preppers. So two flashlights, and I also always have my cell phone on my nightstand, and it's charged or on charge. A fully charged cell phone, in my opinion, is probably going to be, other than the flashlight, one of the most important things you're going to have on your nightstand is a fully charged cell phone. So the last thing that I would keep, so we have my pepper spray, my handgun, my spare ammunition, two flashlights, cell phone. The last thing that I have by my bedside is my blaster here.
The big boy.
The big boy, and this is a Wilson Combat modified Remington 870 12 gauge pump shotgun. Yeah, it does look pretty mean, but it's not a quote assault style weapon. It has a pressure pad activated flashlight on the fore end here. I don't want to blind the camera, but it's pressure pad activated. So that's my third flashlight in the room right there. It is loaded, just for all you safety concerned people out there. It absolutely is loaded right now.
I want to see it cleared right now, Jack. Clear that gun right now.
Yeah. So it absolutely is loaded. It's loaded with 3-inch Magnum double-aught buck, and I have a side saddle here that's also loaded with 6 extra rounds in case I need those. But that is my home defense gun of choice right there. It's a good 12 gauge shotgun, and the reason why, one, intimidation factor. It absolutely has an intimidation factor about it when you're staring down the barrel of a loaded 12 gauge and you see somebody on the other end with the willingness to pull that trigger. You're not making it out of there, and a lot of people will stop cold in their tracks just from that. Now, you can't depend on that necessarily, but it is a pretty hot loaded 12 gauge, and you're talking about a weapon that will do a significant amount of damage in a short amount of time. Is it the best weapon for everybody? Probably not. The recoil on this weapon with those loads is stout, very stout, and I would not recommend it for small statured males, females. I would not recommend it unless you have some training, pretty significant training behind it. And so it's not suited for everybody, but for my needs and for me, it suits me perfectly. What about you, David? What's some of your bedside goodies?
All right. Well, there'll be a video too. When I get home tonight, I'm going to film a video and send it to Jack. So there'll be a video, right, Jack, at the end of the podcast?
I'll tack those on to the end of the
My
podcast.
show and tell.
We'll have a show and tell at the end.
Yes, and again, so you see the differences here. And again, I live in a townhome. No, it's a large townhome. It's not small, but I have two young daughters, and we talked about over penetration. Now the walls of my townhome, because they're new and we have strict codes here in Florida because of storms, are solid concrete. But I don't want to test fate when someone's sleeping this far from me.
Exactly.
Okay, on the other in the other unit. So I have kept that in mind when I'm doing my all of my prep work here. So basically, in my nightstand, and this is a dedicated gun that my gun does not change in my nightstand. This is my nightstand gun. It's a Glock 19 9mm handgun. In there, I have two clips. They're the double stack clips, and I have the one
15 rounders.
Yeah, and it's I always forget if it's 15 or 16, and then I have the one Glock clip that's about, I think it's 31 rounds it holds. It's the big Glock clips.
Right.
Kind of looks like those old gangster
Right,
machine
it's made for a Glock 18 full auto. It's 33 round, I think.
Yeah, when you put it in there, it looks pretty dangerous. Now, That's more of a fun clip. I mean, I don't ever foresee myself in a situation where I need 33 rounds of my Glock 19. I'm in some serious trouble if I do.
Right.
So anyway, and on my Glock is a flashlight. It's a built-in. It's an accessory flashlight that both has a regular light and has the strobe light. And
Mhm.
never doubt. And Jack, I'm glad you brought the flashlights. Never doubt the power of a flashlight. The flashlight is not just to give the utility of light and darkness. If you have a strobe function on that light, you can disorientate the one attacker pretty well,
Oh yeah.
enough to maybe get them kind of off balance a little bit. So I have the strobe light and the regular flashlight on my Glock. That's my main gun. I also, as you'll see in the video, I have a very high powered flashlight. I have a pair of handcuffs, which Jack joked I was getting into my personal business. They are handcuffs used to detain somebody if they got in my house and I was able to
Right.
neutralize the threat.
Right.
I would use the handcuffs to detain them until the police came. And I'm very lucky where I live. The police would be there in a matter of minutes. That's what's in my nightstand drawer. And now we're going to talk about safety here in a few minutes, but because, and I'll expand more on that, but because I do have a 1 year old and a 4 year old approaching 5 or turning 16, as I say, in my household, I can't just leave one chambered.
Right.
It's just too
Right.
dangerous. So I do not leave one chambered. So therefore, I don't keep one in my I don't keep my 19 in a holster because I have to physically,
Chamber
uh,
around.
I have
Right.
to chamber around. So that is my mental activity to
Now,
say, David.
how old did you say your children were?
Well, I got the 1 year old, then I got one that's turning 5 or going on 16 the way she acts. So
Okay, but she is
yeah.
5, and I know from experience, guys, your typical 5 year old is not going to be able to rack the slide on that Glock.
She cannot rack it. She has gotten in that drawer before, and I'll tell you what I did to correct that when we talk about the safety
Right.
portion. But no, no, that's to me, without getting on a tangent about safeties on guns. Now, your setup, it works well for you to have a safety on your shotgun because that system works. For me, people ask me, well, is your safety on? Is the ammo separate? No, I am the safety.
Right.
But
Exactly.
also, even though I have my drawer locked, I'm not home a lot. So my thing is, if there's not one in the chamber, that's simply a blunt object.
Right, and
So,
since we've already started down this road, as far as your safety concerns go, you have to take various factors into account.
mhm,
David's one of his key factors is the fact that he has small children in the home
mhm,
almost at all times. Uh,
yes.
his situation is going to be different. I don't disagree with the way that he keeps his
Mhm,
home defense firearm. I don't. Now, another option would be I've seen these little lock boxes with the key
mhm,
code on the outside where you can access. My pastor actually has one of those, and he keeps a fully loaded Beretta 92 and an extra magazine in there. So that's another option. Also, what do they call them? The hidden in plain sight. It's these cabinets and such that actually come apart.
yes.
And I mean, that's another option. There are a lot of options out there, guys, and you'll have to do your research on it. Too many to link here. We'll try to find the links to some of these things, but there's really just so much in that area that we couldn't link. We could not possibly cover it all. But the main thing is you have to see what your particular needs are as far as safety goes, and then go from there. Maybe in your particular situation, you're going to have a lockbox. Maybe in your particular situation, like mine, you don't have any small children running around. You can have a loaded 12 gauge shotgun by your bedside and not have to worry about it. And that's great if you're in that situation, but not everybody is. Um, Second thing would be, and I think as far as safety is concerned, would be lighting. Uh, um, I can't tell you how many people I know who have a gun by their bedside but no flashlight. Well,
Mm,
if someone breaks in, wouldn't it be, or if someone is in your home, wouldn't it be in your best interest to be able to see who it is before you shoot them? I mean,
exactly. And I
just my
have
opinion. So,
because my daughters, our bedrooms are on the top story. The girls' bedrooms are on one side, we're on the other.
hmm
Because the 1 year old doesn't get out of her crib, but well, she's trying to. But the 5 year old gets up at night, comes in bed with us all the time.
right.
I actually bought from First Alert little emergency floor lighting, and I put them in all the outlets that lead along the hallway into our bedroom.
Hmm.
And then in our bedroom, I put they're those little they're flat and they glow a really nice dim blue.
Right.
I put those by the entryway to our bedroom and in the bathroom.
Hmm.
So while it's not bright, it would at least allow me to make out a silhouette that you are over 3 feet tall, therefore you are an intruder in my home. So that's the lighting portion. What I do for safety for my drawer is I have a regular nightstand drawer, as you will see in the video, but I have a child safety latch on it that requires you to pinch on both sides. The latch pops up and the drawer opens.
Nice.
And again, even if my 5-year-old got into that, which I don't think she could yet, the gun is not loaded, so
Right.
she has no ability to shoot it. And so that's safety built in. And then I do have my Mossberg 12 gauge shotgun. It's just a cheapo shotgun. It's nothing fancy like Jack's. As you'll see, I'm not a personal fan of shotguns. That's not a judgment. That's just a preference. I don't enjoy shooting them,
Right.
but I did get one because you can get the cheap ones for what I got mine for like $300,
Right. Right.
and they're good to have for that one time. Test them out, make sure they work every now and then. But I just keep that in my that is in my closet, my master closet.
Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have
Exactly.
it.
That's in my master closet, which is my safe room, and that is my gun of last resort. So I basically my system is my Glock 19. It was my home defense gun. It's 9 millimeter, which I feel is a comfortable but yet powerful round for townhome living. And then I have my Mossberg 12 gauge in the closet should something happen. And I use, as Jack helped educate me on why I use birdshot. I use birdshot in that gun to prevent, if I did have to use that gun in my home, it most likely would not penetrate the concrete wall.
Right, and we'll get into that a little bit more in a few minutes when we start talking about ammo selection. So we've discussed a little bit of the weapons that we have, what we keep by our bedside. We've talked a little bit about safety. I'll go one step further with safety and say get training. Definitely get some training. Whatever gun that you're going to, even if you don't carry a gun on a regular basis like David and I do, if you're going to have a gun in your home for home defense, and I know many people that do not carry a firearm every day, but they have a gun at home for home defense. Get some training with it, and going out to cousin Billy Bob's barn and shooting some plates behind the barn or whatever, that is not training. Get some serious, if you can afford it, get some serious dedicated training with the weapon, not one like it, but the weapon you plan on using for home defense. Get some training, whether it be a shotgun, whether it be a handgun, whatever it is that you choose in your particular situation, in your scenario. Get training with that weapon and its safe use. And I think that right there will lead us right into the ammo selection, since you already kind of started that.
Yeah.
As far as ammo selection goes, people put a lot of thought into it. They really do. Especially, I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of different hollow point rounds that you could get for a handgun. Now, I do recommend good hollow point ammunition for a handgun. Do not use full metal jacket ammunition. It will over penetrate and you're going to end up with problems. I would definitely recommend a good hollow point round. Which brand you choose is going to be, I mean, luck of the draw. You could probably do just as well with just about any of them. Just being honest, because handguns are very anemic weapons to begin with. Basically, what handguns do is poke holes in a target. Okay, they're very anemic to begin with. So if anyone says, well, this new round in 9mm, this right here will put an elephant down, and it's super power. No, it's a 9mm. At the end of the day, you still got 115 grains to 147 grains of copper jacketed lead traveling at 1,000 to 1,300 feet per second. So you're very limited in how much power you can pack into a handgun round. Get you a good hollow point ammunition. More importantly, fire at least 50 rounds of whatever ammunition you choose to keep that gun loaded with. Fire at least 50 rounds through that gun prior to actually having it by your bedside and it being your home defense gun, to see if it's going to function reliably. That right there is key. That is very important.
I've forgotten that many times, Jack. You don't know how many times I've been guilty of that and had to realize, hey, you take the expensive ammo out to shoot the cheap ammo at the range, but you're going to depend on the expensive ammo to save your butt.
Exactly.
So I've been guilty as charged with that. You
Right.
folks got to do it.
Right, and you have to rotate your ammo anyway, which I do, but you do need to put a few rounds of your carry ammo through your gun every once in a while to make sure it's reliable in your gun. You really do, and I would recommend at least 50 rounds. That's just good practice. Now, as far as your shotguns go, your shotguns, as David said, he keeps his loaded with birdshot. I keep mine loaded with double aught buck. Two different use cases there, but David has neighbors that are pretty close.
Very cool.
And his concern right now is over penetration. Now, with birdshot, what you have is at a very close range, say five yards or less. What you have is a very devastating weapon that is capable of what we call the rat hole effect, which basically it'll put one hole in whatever it hits about the size of a basketball, about the size of a softball. Whatever it hits, it's going to chew a rat hole into it. The majority of the pellets are going to stay inside. And when you're talking about birdshot, you're talking about number 8 shot, 7, maybe 6, number 6 shot. But not any bigger than that. You don't want to get into your duck loads and stuff like that. It's a whole different thing. But what he's talking about is just good old birdshot that you can get at Walmart. You can get 100 rounds for, I don't know, $20 or something. And at close range, don't underestimate it. It is an absolutely devastating close range weapon, and you don't have to worry about the over penetration of it. So it is absolutely important that you do some you do some research on the ammunition, and for your use case, you need to, before you go out and buy any of this latest greatest ammunition, you need to ask yourself what is my particular case. Am I worried about over penetration? Am I worried about this? Am I worried about that? Am I likely to have to use this? If you live up near the Canadian border or whatever. Well, what if a bear's coming in my house in the middle of the night? That might be a concern. I don't know. It might be a legitimate thing, and you might have to have dual purposes for this weapon. So keep that in mind with your ammo selection. Use some common sense. You don't need necessarily the latest and greatest, but use some common sense and buy good quality ammunition. Do not ever use reloaded ammunition in a home defense gun or a carry gun for that matter. Do not use your home super duper, super deadly mercury tipped depleted uranium rounds. Those will get you in more trouble than anything else. Stay away from them. I understand that your reloads might be reliable, or your Uncle Billy's reloads might be super reliable. I don't care. Stay away from reloads. Buy you some good factory ammunition.
I agree, and I let Jack take the lead on this. My knowledge of ammunition beyond hollow point, reload, and target ammo is pretty limited. I use obviously hollow point on my in all my guns that are loaded for actual defense, and then I target shoot with a normal round. But Jack brought up a very good point. Again, I said that I have been very very guilty of this too. Is that shoot whatever you have, the ammo you're depending upon, you must shoot it. I know those can be $20 a box.
Right.
But what is your life worth in the very end? So you have
Right,
to take
and you
that.
don't have to go out. You don't have to go out and target practice with those or anything. But definitely run at least 50 rounds of whatever you choose to carry through your weapon to make sure it functions reliably in your gun. And what I'll normally do is I'll go out, and if I'm going to if I'm going to target shoot, or if I'm going to train, I'll go out with maybe 100 rounds of ball ammunition. That's just Full Metal Jacket, Walmart everyday low price ammunition. I go out and I'll shoot those, and then whatever carry ammunition that I have been carrying in my weapon for, say, the past month or two, I'll go ahead and I'll fire those out. When I get home, I will reload my carry ammunition after cleaning the weapon. So that's how I rotate my ammunition. That way you always get a few rounds, and not only for the reliability of it, but the recoil impulse on a home defense or a self-defense round is going to be different than ball ammunition. It just is. My home defense loads for my shotgun, for instance, I wouldn't go out and necessarily practice with those over the course of a long day because my shoulder would be brutalized. But it does pay to go out and shoot a few rounds through it every now and then, just so you know what that weapon is going to feel like, because you don't want to be used to shooting birdshot, which has almost no recoil in that shotgun at all, and then all of a sudden you switch over to 3-inch Magnum double aught, and it's stomping you. It's like getting hit in the shoulder with a baseball bat. So you do need to know the difference, and you need to be able to experience the difference in that ammunition. And I think that might lead us over into as far as training goes into tactics, David.
Yes.
What are some of your recommendations as far as tactics in the home would go?
Well, you need to have a plan, especially if you have a family, like I do. But no matter what the age of the family is, if you have three adults living with you don't just want to go firing off.
Right.
You need to make a plan, and you need to communicate that plan. And that's a challenge for me. I got a wife who she tolerates all the stuff I do, and she likes that I do it, and two little girls. But their priority is not doing a home invasion drill. Okay, I won't confirm nor deny that I made them do that, but that's not their liking. But you have to make a plan, just like you have a plan for your home in the event of a fire. You got to have a plan that if there is a home intrusion, a bump in the night, where do your kids go? If you have grandparents living with you, where do they go? In my situation, they come to my room. The way our home is structured, our master closet is mildly reinforced, and it's you have to go through our bathroom to get to it. I could make sure my girls were safe in there, has a lock on the door. My wife would be calling 911. The alarm would already be going off. You can't get past my alarm system. When my alarm goes off in 45 seconds, the monitoring station's on the loudspeaker in the house, so that's all taken care of. Once they're safe in there, I can then handle the threat from my room without revealing too much of my layout. My layout lends itself very well to defending a threat from the front door. So basically, that's herding the girls into our safe room, knowing they go in there. My wife's in charge of calling 911, even though the alarm company's doing it as well. And then I handle the threat, and that's kind of the system that we have set up.
We have a similar system. We do not have an alarm, as I said,
Mm.
but we do have a very similar system as far as the safe room goes. And I would definitely recommend this for anyone with children or other people living in the house with them. If it was just me and my wife, we would have a little bit different situation. But since I do have a child that still lives at home, and she's old enough that we've talked about it. We've talked about different scenarios, and we've kind of played some things out. So I've been very fortunate as far as that goes. But it's a similar situation. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the layout of my house because I don't really feel comfortable doing that online. But basically, my house is situated where any threat that comes from an outside source, that comes from one of the doors, they're going to be funneled down one hallway to get to the bedrooms. Okay, and my daughter's bedroom is very, very close to mine, within 5 feet of mine. So she can be in there very quickly in a situation. She can be across there really quickly, and not too much opening through that hallway. And there's a funnel effect right there. So basically, anything that comes down that hallway after that point is a threat. And I know that. I look around, I have me and mine, my wife, my daughter, everything else that's in that hallway is a threat at that point. So if that tells you anything, not only are you going to have to worry about, just that what we call that bullet funnel right there at the door, but all the way down that hallway, if you're going to be an intruder, you're going to be in danger all the way down that hall if you try to get back up the hall once you've tried to come through the door, if you make it that far. But we definitely have my wife, like you said with yours, she's instructed to call 911. She has her own flashlight, and she'll have her own gun. So that we have a dual situation here where if I'm incapacitated, she can take care of the rest, or if she's incapacitated, I can take care of it. But both of us, we have what we're supposed to do lined out in advance. You call 911, you stay over there with my daughter, you have a gun, you have a flashlight. I'm barricaded here, and I'm not going to go into details, but my room is situated where I do have some cover in case there's incoming fire. So I can be behind it, get behind a barricade, cover, and I'm going to wait for that person to come through the door. And now that brings me to my next level of tactics here, and a warning here. The way I'm situated, and I'm sure the way most people are. Well, let me back up for a second. I have had training in room clearing. I've had some pretty extensive training in clearing houses and clearing rooms. And without getting too far into my background, David knows a little bit more about my background than most people. But I've had some pretty extensive room clearing drills. And Trying to clear a home is one of the absolutely most dangerous things you can possibly do, even if you have a team of 5 to 7 individuals with you, as I have many times, and every one of those team members be armed, very well armed and very well trained. It is still one of the most dangerous things you can do. I would never recommend that your homeowner, your typical homeowner, try to clear their own house. Do not do that. Get to your safe room, make sure you and yours are safe, watch the door, and call 911 and wait for the cops to get there and do their job. Do not try to go down there and clear that house. It's not going to work out well for you. And there's a few reasons why not. One is the level of training that it requires to be able to do that efficiently. Number two, you have an unknown. You don't know if there's going to be 1 threat, 2 threat, maybe there's 3 guys down there. You have no idea what you're walking into. You're walking into an unknown situation against an unknown number of threats. That's your second problem. Your third problem is this. Your wife has already called 911. She's already told them that there is a stranger in your house walking around with a gun. If you're doing a house clearing, as you shouldn't be doing, and the cops pull up on the scene, what's the first thing they're going to see? A guy with a gun. And nature's going to take its effect, and we know what's going to happen next. So keep that in mind, guys. Don't be Rambo. Don't try to clear your own house. Wait for the cops to get there for that.
Again, we take the more realistic approach here, in that you, at the end of the day, you want you and your family to be safe and to be alive. And I think the plan to secure the family, have a plan how you and or your wife will be defending the family if need be. But most of the time, we all talk about, well, what if the grid's down? And I realize that, and you should have a plan for that. Mm-hmm. But we don't live in a grid down scenario right now. And exactly. We might not, and maybe never will be. Lord willing, we won't.
We're not in a Mad Max scenario yet.
Unless you live out in the boondocks. The police will be at your home relatively quickly, especially if they know it's an active home invasion. Mm-hmm. Now, those 3 or 5 minutes will seem like an eternity, okay? So you make a plan, but you want to have the end goal that the police will be coming. And, again, you don't want to be the one getting accidentally shot, because the police, you may not know the cop coming to your house, and, they have a family to go home to as well, and they're going to shoot somebody if they think they're a threat. So you want to, Jack's very correct. You want to situate yourself so you can defend yourself, but not look like the home invader. Okay?
Right, and also when you're on the phone with 911, when you're on the phone with dispatch, let them know. It is me, my wife, and my daughter. We have barricaded ourselves in the master bedroom, and I have a gun. And let them know this up front. That way, when they get there, they're going to know what to expect. Okay, we've cleared the house. There's no longer a criminal threat. Excuse me. And now, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, they're in the master bedroom. We know this. It's the police. Open up, whatever. And we know everybody's clear who everybody is at that point, and we can de-escalate the situation. But, even having been trained to clear houses, I would not feel confident clearing a house against maybe multiple threats. I just wouldn't. I may be capable of it, but in doing so, I put myself in unnecessary risk, unnecessary danger, and I put my family at risk because I just left my family. And now we have a situation where the criminal could circle around me. Ever how he does it, he could come around me and he could get to them. Or, for that matter, she doesn't know when I'm coming back. So what if I'm coming back and I get shot by her? So you've created, by leaving your safe room, you've created a number of possible bad scenarios, and you don't want to have to deal with any one of those.
No, you are exactly right.
So that being said, I think we pretty much covered all our criteria that we wanted to go over today. At the end of for those that are watching this on YouTube, at the end of the video, what we're going to have is some show and tell close-up of David's bedside nightstand gear, and you're going to have a close-up of mine, and I'll explain a little bit more in detail what I have and what I have with it, and some of the logic behind that. For the audio listeners, hey, tune into YouTube sometime. Check out the video.
Yes.
There's always some extra content at the end of the video. At some point, we might actually start posting some pre or post show. I guess you can say outtakes at some point, because we screw up a lot around here.
Yeah, and sometimes we as I said, we have a pregame, I call it, midweek to plan for the podcast. And it lasts almost as long as a podcast does. And we might make a plan someday of how to share some of that funny commentary with you, or make a private group for people we know or watch, something we can do to share that, because it is quite comical. We're a little more how would you say, comfortable, a little more, not
Right.
loose, but
Right, and I'm gonna
off
do.
the cuff.
I didn't really mention this earlier in the pre-show planning, but at some point, what I'm thinking is maybe 500 YouTube subscribers. Once we hit the 500 mark, I'm gonna do a giveaway, and it's gonna be something nice. It's not gonna be anything ghetto.
Mm.
It's gonna be something nice that
Oh, come on,
that
Jack, are you
people want.
sure?
Hey, it's not gonna be ghetto. It's gonna be something decent,
Okay.
and there is going to be a little bit of a gear giveaway, but I'm going to shoot for 500 subscribers on YouTube. That's going to be the goal. That's going to be the mark. And the winner is just going to be selected randomly from the comment section. The criteria will be that you leave a comment and that you are subscribed. You don't necessarily have to like the Facebook page, but it would be much appreciated if you did. And that is facebook.com/The Realistic Prepper on what is it, on a YouTube, or excuse me, iTunes. If you'll just search for the Realistic Prepper podcast, we'll pop right up there.
Come right up.
Audio podcast. But any questions, comments, leave them down in the comment section below. Please rate us on iTunes. Go to our Facebook page, like our Facebook page. It helps out. Give us a thumbs up on the video. If you can share the video, all the better. Social media, all of it helps. If you have any questions, like I said, you can post them on Facebook or here, or you can contact David and I directly. We're at the Realistic Prepper Podcast at gmail.com.
Gmail.com. Yep.
And either one of us could be answering your questions. So.
Yep. Happy to get emails. We want to interact, not just talk to ourselves here. So ask away if you have ideas for future shows, things you want to see change. Audio, video, good, bad. That we already seem to have people that help keep us on track with that. So
All the feedback is much appreciated.
yeah, it is. It is. All
All
right.
right, everybody. I think that pretty much wraps it up today, and thanks for watching.
Okay, guys, so this is what I keep in my nightstand drawer that we talked about in the podcast. Here is my Glock 19 9mm handgun. Like I said, it has the flashlight on there, and you can make it strobe as well if you do it quickly. So this would be a very good disorientation weapon, and would illuminate and yet hurt the attacker somewhat. Then I have two standard clips that come with a Glock, or mags, I should say. These hold 15 rounds, hollow point. So I got two of those. This one's in the clip in case I guess I ever carry this gun on me. Then for fun, I got this Glock 31 round mag. This is really just for fun at the range, not really. I mean, you could use it for self-defense here, but if you need this much ammo, you have bigger problems. This is my very expensive flashlight toy. My I think it's called Through Night Catapult V3. The Urban Prepper had this on his YouTube channel. It's extremely bright, and it has a bezel on the front that would definitely cause some harm if you had to use it in combat. And anyway, I call it the modern mag light. I think it's pretty cool. I have a headlamp. Headlamps are very important. I really wouldn't use this so much in a home defense situation, but I keep it on me in case the storm knocks the power out next to my bed. Handcuffs in case I have to, once a threat has been neutralized, if I have to restrain the person until the police arrive. And then as far as my nightstand goes, here it is. You have my weather radio, which we'll be talking more about those in our next podcast. Some essential oils I use to help me sleep. My portable ham radio, again, we'll talk more about that in a future episode. Always keep the phone charged, as Jack talked about. And here's my safety system I have. Because, see, I have two kids. And when that's like that, you can't open the drawer up. So you unlatch it. and voila, the drawer opens up. So that is what's in my nightstand drawer for home defense.
Okay guys, as promised, this is just a short video of the things that I keep on my nightstand every night. I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance for the shaky camera work. I'm using my iPhone for a camera, and I'm going to go ahead and apologize for the lighting. It is very dimly lit in here. But let's go ahead and get to it, guys. First off, typical remote control, got to have that. You may see an iPad here on a typical night. I don't have it with me right now, but that's also a possibility. But let's get into the good stuff here, the meat and potatoes. Up here at the top, you'll see the flashlight I have set aside for my wife. It's nothing that great. In fact, you can pick these up on Amazon for $3 or $4, but this is a Cree LED flashlight. Like I said, they're very cheap on Amazon, but it's a really good quality for the amount of money you pay. It feels very solid in the hand. It is aluminum, and it is pressure pad activated and extremely bright for its size. Extremely bright. It'll pretty much light up this entire bedroom. So this is the one that I have by my bedside for my wife. And next to that is the pepper spray, which I keep inside its container, or inside its little belt rig there. I don't want that to accidentally get sprayed out. Also next to that, you'll see my carry knife. This would be on my nightstand at night. This is a Emerson Mini Commander. I don't think they make this particular model anymore. Good solid tactical knife. Go ahead and set that aside. And down here you'll see my carry light. This is the flashlight I carry with me on a daily basis. And this is made by Streamlight. As you can see here on the side, I can get it to focus in. There we go. Streamlight ProTac 2L. So good light, uses CR123 batteries. I didn't mention it before, but that light over there uses 1 AA. This uses 2 CR123 batteries. Extremely bright. I think it's 260 lumens maybe. So that sits right beside my carry gun. And this is a Car K9. I've showed this in a couple other videos, I know. So this is the Car K9, 9mm. It rides in a Blade Tech inside the waistband holster made of Kydex. Right next to it, we have an extra magazine. I keep my carry gun loaded with Corbon 115 grain jacketed hollow point plus P rounds. It's my recommended load. I love it. Never had a problem with feed or functioning, and it absolutely devastates anything that it hits. Love the Corbon ammunition. So there you have it, guys. A quick look at the nightstand. And if you look over here to the immediate right, there's my home defense shotgun. So it is a Wilson modified Remington 870 12 gauge pump. It has a +2 magazine extension on it, a Surefire flashlight, pressure pad activated flashlight on the fore end, 6-round side saddle to hold extra ammo, and a folding stock in case it needs to be mobile to cut down on the length a little bit. It is currently loaded with a 3-inch Magnum double-aught buck, so that basically you have 15 33 caliber pellets. And that is my home defense shotgun. And this is my typical nightstand, what would typically be on my nightstand on any given day. Alright guys, I hope someone learned something from this. And any questions, comments, leave them in the comment section below. If you have any questions or suggestions for a future show, please contact us at therealisticprepperpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for watching, guys.